I think everybody going into the release of the Final Fantasy VII Remake was expecting it to be a colossal commercial success. However, there was a little bit of skepticism given everything going on in the world right now, how well this game exactly would have sold, and it has been confirmed that this game has sold ridiculously well, and I want to talk all about that. Square Enix has put out a press release going over just exactly how well it has sold, so we'll highlight that. And also, it's so impressive because do keep in mind, it was a PlayStation 4 console exclusive. It'll be coming to other platforms next year, but for it selling as well as it has just being on one platform, it's pretty incredible. Also, the Coma 2 Vicious Sister for PlayStation 4 and Nintendo Switch drops in May. We'll talk that in just a little bit. But first up, Final Fantasy VII Remake shipments and digital sales have topped 3.5 million copies in 3 days. Exceptional digital sales for the April 10th release Remake, and I think that makes a lot of sense. I was really interested in seeing just exactly how well the digital release would have done, given that I don't think anybody really wants to leave their house right now unless it is absolutely essential, and I don't know if getting a physical copy of Final Fantasy VII Remake is absolutely essential. Maybe some of you guys will disagree with me on that, but nonetheless, total worldwide shipments and digital sales for FF7 Remake have surpassed 3.5 million units in the 3 days following its April 10th release, Square Enix announced. Square Enix describes the game's digital sales as exceptional and continuing to increase. According to Japanese outlets such as Famitsu and Gamer.ne.jp, FF7 Remake shipments and digital sales surpassed 1 million units in Japan alone, and the physical edition sold for around 702,000 copies, a little bit over that in actuality. In the first 3 days in Japan, according to Famitsu numbers, the digital edition may account for the other 297k or more in the country. Now, obviously, us over here in the West, there's a lot more people, but Final Fantasy is huge over in Japan, but I imagine ultimately the game did sell more copies in quantity over here in the West. Nonetheless, the Final Fantasy VII Remake has taken the gaming world by storm. You can have your opinion on everything they did with the game, and I don't want to go into spoilers even at this point because I know a lot of you guys are still making your way through the game. It's a relatively lengthy game, and maybe a lot of you guys are still working from home and whatever the case may be, and you haven't been able to sit down and absolutely just bum rush the game, but nonetheless, the game is fantastic, and I really enjoyed my time with it, and now I think you could realize why Square Enix decided to segment this release into multiple parts. I do think if you play the FF7 Remake, you get a quality experience. You're gonna get your $60 worth or however much you spent. I think it's a quality-filled experience, but at the same time, I can understand if you're of the mindset that, hey, I'm gonna wait until Square Enix does end up re-releasing all of the games in one package, because let's be real, that's absolutely gonna happen. They did it with Kingdom Hearts. In actuality, they didn't do it with Final Fantasy 13, so who knows if this will actually happen. But given how much they have re-released Kingdom Hearts, and I do imagine that we're ultimately going to get that FF13 trilogy at some point, I do think they'll do it with the FF7 Remake as well. It's just that this game has been hotly anticipated for north of 15 years, even if it's piecemealed out to you in segmented parts. I think at the end of the day, people are still gonna buy it, and I do expect Part 2 to do very well. I do actually expect the sales for each game to now decline a little bit, especially if Part 2 of the FF7 Remake is exclusive to the PlayStation 5, or it's exclusive to next-generation platforms, because now you're working with a smaller pool of people that are going to have that console, but we're looking really, really deep into the future, because I don't think we're going to see FF7 Remake Part 2 at the earliest 2022, and I think more likely than not 2023. Now, you can make the argument, hey, they already have the foundation in place, they have the gameplay elements, and everything like that, they've got the engine going, whatever the case may be. However, you have to understand that they do have to create a lot of new areas. They still have to go through a lot of voice acting, they still have to iron out the story, whatever the case may be. A lot of story beats still have to be fleshed out. There's a lot of work still to be done, so while I do think that the game release is going to be accelerated with each subsequential part, I don't think it's going to take the 5 years from the announcement of the FF7 Remake Part 1 to the 2020 release. Yeah, I don't think it's going to take that long. However, who knows when Part 2 is going to be announced, and who knows when it's ultimately going to be released. Nonetheless, the game is obviously selling very, very well, and 3.5 million units in just 3 days is a significant amount to be selling, especially in a time period where a lot of people don't want to be spending money that freely. And I know FF7 Remake is a game so many people are excited for, but some people's finances are going to be really, really limited, and the fact that this game still managed to sell 3.5 million units, that is incredible. I think by the end of the year, you're going to be looking at 6, 7, 8 million copies sold, and I think ultimately it'll easily crack 10 million copies. I don't think that's going to be hard at all, especially considering the fact that Final Fantasy VII Remake will ultimately be released on PC and Xbox One, at least one would have to think, and that'll exponentially increase the sales numbers as well. I'm not saying it's going to double with those releases, but that'll definitely offer Square Enix an increase as well, and I imagine Sony paid Square Enix a little bit of money to get that game to be a console exclusive for the first year, so I think Square Enix is really happy with the performance of the FF7 Remake. Alright, moving on from that, I also do want to highlight the Coma 2 Vicious Sisters for PS4 and Nintendo Switch launches in May. Now, this was a game that came out on PC earlier this year, back in January specifically, and it was received very well with an overwhelmingly positive reception on Steam. 638 Steam user reviews, 97% positive on that, and the game itself is a Korean survival horror adventure. Venture from your deserted school to survive the horrors of the night, explore the surrounding Siwa district, and uncover the Shadow Realm's darkest secrets. I know a lot of people are gonna meme about being banished to the Shadow Realm, but the Shadow Realm ain't anything to joke about. Use everything at your disposal to avoid a demoness hell-bent on killing you. So this is a follow-up game, however, it does note that the Coma 2 Vicious Sisters continues the dark story introduced in the Coma Recruit. Despite being a sequel, no familiarity with the original game story is necessary, and this time around you do play as a brand new protagonist in Mina Park, a minor side character from the first game, and Mina is forced to escape her deserted high school to elude the clutches of a relentless psychotic slasher. She soon realizes that she has been unwittingly drawn into a dangerous, shadowy version of her waking world reality while exploring the surrounding district. This one explores the universal themes of friendship, bullying, and the pressures of academic achievement in a distinct Korean context. It notes, fear dark songs, a relentless pursuit to kill you, now in an all-new AI. Craft items to prepare for critical life or death situations or risk of permanent injury. Explore the nightmarish district of Siwa and discover its dark secrets, and so much more, featuring vibrant hand-illustrated in-game visuals and comic strips. So that'll be out sometime in May. We don't have an official release date, but if you're into more horror-based titles, I think this is going to be something right up your alley, especially if you're into those psychological games. I think the Coma 2 Vicious Sisters definitely something to keep an eye out on, especially given its positive reception with its Steam release. There's no Metacritic score for it, but I would imagine with an overwhelmingly positive reception, it's a pretty good game, and excited to see that drop on PS4 later in May. And that's going to conclude this video. Again, the Final Fantasy VII Remake is killing it from a sales standpoint. 3.5 million units in just 3 days. That is a significant feat to achieve, especially given the current climate we're in, especially given that this is a PS4 console exclusive for now, and especially considering that people are strapped for finances. So right now, it's selling 3.5 million units. That's pretty ridiculous, and the Coma 2 Vicious Sisters launches in May for PS4 and Nintendo Switch. That's going to conclude this video. Sound off with all of your thoughts in the comments section down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.